And welcome to another video where I'll try to swatch this Mineral Marvels from Daniel Smith. Some of you have requested me to make more videos about granulating colors, and I thought that by trying this this type of paint, I know in this series they have several colors that are separating, granulating. They have some interesting properties, so I thought of exploring it. You've probably seen this swatched on YouTube. Many people have done it, and most of them probably doing a better job than I. But here is my experience with this, and you're gonna hear my thoughts. I tried to create this swatch. This is on Arch watercolor paper. Is the rough. Actually, I think it's not the rough, the cold press. And here are the little swatches, and I like this because they give you quite a generous amount of paint. I'm going to try to put a little bit of water on top for them to soften up. I know this type of paint can be hard to re-wet. Let me go do that, and then I'll swatch everything and maybe pause here and there to share my opinions. And I'll start in this corner with Rhodonite Genuine, and I failed to write the name of these paints, but I have the name of the card, so hopefully I'll remember. This is a very pretty pink. I had them from their sample kit for the Primatex, and what I've noticed, it does have some granulation, but the granulation has like a brownish color to it. It will make an appearance, I believe, in my next color experiment. This is all. Next one, we have the Garnet Genuine. Very beautiful reddish brown. I like that very much. And I should probably go ahead and water the paper. Granulating colors, I noticed they enjoy being dropped in puddles of water for some reason that makes them behave in a more interesting way. This is the Minnesota Pipestone Genuine. A very pretty brown. And if you know my my opinions about brown colors, I'm not very good at knowing when to use them. I tend to add them to my paintings, and then I end up with a brown mess. And the last one there, it's the Bloodstone Genuine. Also has some interesting texture, a dark color. For some reason I always expected Bloodstone to be red, but it almost looks... I'm trying to move the board of the water, kind of play there with the paint. I really like the Garnet Genuine. It's a pretty, very pretty reddish brown. It reminds me a little bit of the pigment PR206. I think it's going to be a discontinued pigment soon. Some Quinacridone Burnt Scarlet or something along those the ways. The next card here, it's called Red Earth. And let me go ahead and wet my paper. And we'll see how these colors react. Also, again, a very interesting brown. And the Piemonte Genuine, I already had that. This is one of the colors that come in the sample set. There are 5mm tubes. A very nice way to play with this color. The Mommy Bauxite, also a very interesting brown, and has maybe a little bit of a dark granulating texture. We'll see once this dry. And Cyclorite Genuine, very neutralized brown, almost like a raw umber. So again, these are the Red Earths. Very interesting colors. The Piemontite Genuine, I can see why they included that one in the set. It already starts to separate in that dark granulation, like a cold black, and then the reddish colors. And the last of the red cards, this is called the Red Sands, the Bronzite Genuine, and I believe this one has some sparkle in it. Oh, and I forgot to water my paper. They have a few colors that have sparkles. One is the Bronzite. I think the Red Fuchsite is next. And then on the purple dot, they have another one that looks very, very pretty. And the Amethyst Genuine also has some sparkle. So yeah, this is the Bronzite. Very light, airy, brownish, yellowish. The Red Fuchsite, hue similar to the Piemontite Genuine. And then the sparkles and the lack of that dark granulation. Burnt Bronzite Genuine. Brown color. Looks like it has some sparkles, but not as intense as the top one. And the Red Jasper Genuine. Very nice brown color. Reminds me of the fur of certain animals. Very, very interesting color. That's it for this reds. I'll let them dry and we'll move to the next row. It has more earth colors, purple and the black. So far, very interesting. I can see this Bloodstone Genuine. It has that very dark granulation and then a slightly pink hue in the clear parts. But yeah, let them dry and we move up to the next row of colors. And I continue my swatches with this Bake Earth Royal Purple and the Metamorphic Black. They're all gonna be in this section. And I'm gonna start by wetting the paper. I have to do that. I've noticed these colors, they move better, or you can see some of their more interesting property if they are applied wet on wet. So on this Baked Earth card, we have the Yavapai Genuine, Sedona Genuine, Tiger's Eye Genuine, and Burnt Tiger's Eye. Brown colors. Again, I'm very surprised how many variations you can find within something called brown. And this color is kind of leaning red or yellow or orange or being more neutralized. There's a lot of subtlety, and I believe for people who love natural colors, natural palettes, it would be a very pleasing, a very interesting property. I'm more of a bright color painter, so for me this is not as interesting, but I enjoy looking at these paints. And the Tiger's Eyes and Burnt Tiger's Eye, they look very hard to re-wet, and there's enough sample on the dot, but their tinting strength is probably not the best. They turn out very light. They don't have a dark value. But very interesting. Tiger's Eye, kind of a greenish color, and then the Burnt Tiger's Eye, I actually like it. It's almost like a violet. Has a very, very subtle violet, and then the texture, it's very interesting. I wish it would just go down a little darker. The purple ones, very interesting combination. Purpurite Genuine, which if you follow my videos, that's one of my favorite colors of all the colors. Amethyst Genuine, that also comes in the little sample packet the Daniel Smith sells. Sugilite, very, very sparkly, and the Hematite Violet Genuine. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube enjoying that color. So the Purpurite on this dot, it actually looks more violet than my Purpurite, but then we'll see when it dries. if you would state this. That's very interesting. And I don't know if there are variations within the tubes, depending on like the mineral they have, or I do not know how these natural pigments, how they work. But yeah, that's really pretty. I know Amazonite genuine, and we'll see that in the next row. Certain people said that it looks very different than the swatches. And I had a tube of that. I forgot what was the reason I bought it. But it did look different than the swatch on, even the one on camera, which these colors sometimes they don't translate very well. And it's hard to adjust. So right there, the Sugilite genuine, very, very sparkly. I really enjoyed that. And then the Hematite Violet genuine, I can see it being used as a alternative to black, similar slightly with the Rocking Red. From the Rocking Red, this Bloodstone genuine, and we're gonna look at them closer after they're dry. But the same separation, a little bit orange reddish, and then those dark speckles. The Metamorphic Black contain Sodalite genuine, which I have a tube of that. I want to use it as an alternative to black color or to a very dark blue. And then the Hematite genuine, again, maybe similar to the violet hematite. We'll see. Very intense. The Sodalite genuine is probably one of the colors on this that can achieve dark values, except for the one that are very black. The Zoisite, I think people use this color. It has an interesting texture. We'll see if we can obtain that. And the Sodalite genuine also has a very, very interesting granulation and separation. So Hematite genuine, same separation of the black pigment as the Hematite Violet without that reddish orangey undertone. And the last on this card, the Black Tourmaline. Maybe very bluish, greenish, black. I wouldn't know what to do with it, but overall not a bad color. I'm surprised with the Zoisite. I do not care much for green in watercolor, but it's a very muted green, somewhat of a perylene green, but I don't know if you can achieve that high, like the really dark value. But this is the second row, and then we have one more. We have some blues and greens, and then we'll look at them in more detail. And I'm back with the last row. I have here the Green Gems. Very beautiful greens, if you like greens. For somebody who likes to paint landscape, I do not care much for green. Maybe because a lot of the green that come single pigment are very unnatural. And I'm not that proficient of mixing a natural green yet. But that was the Amazonite genuine. Very interesting, almost like a teal, a turquoise. The Fuchsite genuine, very sparkly, minty green. Jadeite genuine, another one of the colors that come in the little set. I think it's 6 colors of the Primatex. And they can get very dark, almost like a hooker's green. And then the Serpentine genuine, surprisingly I love this color, maybe because it's close to a yellow green, and I really like yellow greens. There's the PY 129, I believe, it's the green gold. I really enjoy that color, how it looks. On the second card I have here is the Blue Beauties. There's a Kyanite Genuine, Lapis Lazuli, Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine, and Blue Apatite Genuine. For a while there, everybody wanted to try the Sleeping Beauty Turquoise. I don't know if because it's its name or why it's so enticing. I don't paint much with turquoise. I know tropical landscapes or mixing with red gives a very interesting array, but yeah, it's not a color I reach for. And the Lapis Lazuli, very faint but a very beautiful shade of blue, very soft. The tinting strength not the greatest. So this is the Sleeping Beauty. To me, it looks similar to the Amazonite. Maybe this one it's slightly bluer. We'll see if it has any granulation or any interesting properties. And then the Blue Apatite Genuine. This is another color that I see a lot of people mention, and I can see why now that I swatch it. It's a very intense denim blue. It has some very unique properties. I don't even know how to describe it. Probably it's slightly opaque, but the balance between blue and green, somewhat of an indigo, very interesting color. And then the last one is the Oceanic Mayan Blue Genuine, Kingman Green Diopside Genuine, and the Green Apatite Genuine. And the Green Apatite Genuine, it's a color that comes in the 6th set, the introductory set for the Primatech. Very interesting color. I like the way it separates and granulates and does all sorts of magical things. Mayan Blue Genuine, to me it's almost like a desaturated my phone ringing. Desaturated I lost my train of thought. Phthalo, maybe phthalo green, phthalo blue. Yes, that's what I meant. But hopefully it has interesting properties separating. And this Kingman Green is like a perfect mint, slightly desaturated, not as bright as the Fuchsite, and it doesn't have the glitter in it, the sparkle. And Diopside looks almost like the Jadeite, but it's definitely more intense and slightly yellower. And the last, the Green Apatite Genuine. Again, one of those desaturated or yellowed green that I prefer much more than to the more cooler greens. But these are the colors. I'll let them dry and I'll come back and we can take a closer look. And the colors are dry, and I went through my binder with all my swatches to look for colors that are similar to this Mineral Violet, Mineral Marvels colors that come in Daniel Smith Primatech collection. And I just bought the packet with the swatches. There are 9 cards with pretty generous dots of paint. Some of them are easier to read than others. Some of them have a higher tinting strength. Some of them are granulating, separating, and we have a few with glitter. I'll try to bring in close to the camera. See if my desk light here captures. So the one that they have the square around them, they are very glittery, especially the Sugilite or Sugilite and the Kyanite right here. It's very pretty. I like that shade of indigo. I do not paint a lot with sparkling colors. I do want to try some violets, and I think this purple glitter would look nice, kind of reminding me of those specks of color that you can see in fresh flower petals. I'll start right here from the top. I have the rhodonite, and some of the colors that look very similar in hue is the Red Rose Deep by Da Vinci, although this is slightly redder, and definitely this Queen Pink from Daniel Smith. It's close enough, especially in the lighter value. I have this color and I don't use it much. You can barely see it in this swatch, but with time I feel like it oxidizes and has some brown speckles in it. The next one is the Garnet, and the closest thing I could find to it is this Permanent Alizarin Crimson Deep from Sennelier. It's the pigment PR206, and I believe this pigment is gonna be discontinued. But the Garnet would be a close approximation if you love this pigment and can't find it. Definitely slightly browner than the Permanent Alizarin Crimson, but not as orange as the Transparent Red Oxide from Daniel Smith. Overall, very interesting color, some texture, but not too much. The Minnesota Pimestone, again, I think the closest I could find is this Transparent Red Oxide. It does have slightly textured, and I believe if I neutralize this one would come with something similar, although I don't know about the replicating the texture. And the Bloodstone Genuine, if you look at a Lunar Black in several colors, you're going to remind you to Lunar Black, which is a pigment from Daniel Smith PBK 11. And if you add just a tiny tint of a pink, you can get something similar. I'm not sure if Lunar Black can get this dark, but that's a pretty color. And right here, Hematite Violet, a similar situation, a little bit of red to this Lunar Black might get you something similar. And then I have the Hematite that has those black specks, and with the Primatech colors, you see I have a swatch from my tube of Hematite, and here you can see a little more of the yellow brownish color coming through, and this looks more even. And that was the Rocking Reds, as Daniel Smith calls them. The next ones are the Red Earths, and here I have some colors that are close enough in hue. I don't know about their properties. Of course, this Hematite Burnt Scarlet and the Piemontite, they have that dark grayish separation. These colors, I thought they were very similar. The Caput Mortuum from Sennelier and the Van Dyke Brown from Sennelier. If I mix this with a little bit of Lunar Black, I can replicate the little specks. The Mommy Bauxite, surprisingly I didn't find anything like it. This Burnt Umber from Da Vinci, it's not as orange red, and this is too orange. So yeah, this might be a hard one to replicate, although my collection of browns or natural color is not that big. The Cyclorite has a very interesting texture. I would consider that if I want to mix colors that have a brownish separation. In hue, close to this Warm Sepia by Sennelier, although this one it's a lot smoother and maybe slightly reddish. The Raw Umber from Da Vinci, it's almost a close match as hue, although the Raw Umber from Da Vinci has some interesting texture, is not as pronounced as the Cyclorite. In this corner, Red Jasper, Red Fuchsite, Burnt Bronzite, they're very nice soft colors. These three of them have the glitter in it. The Red Jasper reminds me slightly of a Potter's Pink, much darker. This would also be a color that I would consider to purchase to create some granulating colors. And also the Burnt Bronzite, slight hue, maybe a tad lighter than this Caput Mortuum Fuchsite. Nicely saturated pink, And the bronzite, much darker than this buff titanium. And I could probably come with something similar, mixing buff titanium with some brown. Tiger's eye, similar thing. Even the texture reminds me of buff titanium. And then again, adding a little bit of raw umber. It wouldn't be a stretch to have this particular color, especially with the buff titanium having some granulation. And this raw umber from Da Vinci also has some texture. The burnt tiger's eye, I would say almost a violet. Again, I try to bring this sepia, but this is definitely too dark. Maybe the desaturated part, no, this is too pink. Another very hard to replicate hue, but it's a very light color. Probably low tinting strength. I don't see myself buying this in particular. The Yavapai and the Sedona, they didn't strike me as interesting. The Yavapai reminds me of this burnt umber from Da Vinci, maybe slightly lighter and warmer. And the Sedona, of course, a lighter version than the Garnet. This might be a little too red. It's actually closer in person than the camera. The camera makes this color redder. But overall, a nice soft color. Between the Sedona, the Minnesota Pipestone, and the Garnet, probably the most likely I would purchase is this Minnesota Pipestone. I like the more reddish hue and some light texture in there. And here's a good example of why sometimes the colors that you get in the tube might differ from samples. I have the purpurite in the sample. It's much purple. I don't know. Yeah, the camera can pick it up. And the tube I have, it's grayer, desaturated, and has more texture, which I kind of prefer this color. The amethyst and the sugarlight, I don't even look for something to compare. I believe the amethyst, if you have a very light dioxazine violet, you can have something like that. And the sugarlight is just such a unique color. And if you like sparkles, just go ahead and purchase that. We already talked about the hematite violet and the hematite. The sodalite, I purchased a tube of that. And I like it. I don't use it as much as I thought I would. I don't know why, to be honest. It reminds me a lot of the Da Vinci Indigo. Kind of the same blue, desaturated blue, slightly yellow. Although I wonder if I mix the indigo from Da Vinci with the lunar black, if I would come up with something that's close. I have the Mayan dark blue. It's slightly bluer than the sodalite. And this indigo, I think I use it to compare something else. We'll get to this soon. The zoisite, when I swatched it, I thought it would remind me of a perylene green. But they are quite different. Zoisite much warmer. And then, of course, the texture. It's very interesting. Again, mixing a slight of yellow and a slight of Daniel Smith Lunar Black. You can get something close enough. Black tourmaline. I'm not a huge fan of black colors in watercolor. I don't think they do what I want them to do. This one looks more like a soft gray. Interesting texture. Nothing too special for me. And then last row right here, the greens. And this is something, if you haven't noticed, I am not a big fan of greens. Although I like to paint landscapes, I hardly ever enjoy painting with this color. I do have quite an interesting collection. I can't wait to swatch them to see. Maybe I'll learn to love them a little better. The Amazonite in the swatch, a little cleaner, maybe less texture, and the tube that I have looks more texture, maybe some separation there. Overall, an interesting color. If you have anything of the cobalt turquoise, I believe you can obtain these colors by mixing a little bit of yellow. And this is the Schmincke one, which is the bluest of them all. The Sleeping Beauty just slightly desaturated cobalt turquoise. I think if I mix some buff titanium in it, I might get something similar, which it's a pretty color. I know it's a very expensive paint, so I don't see myself buying. And then we have this fuchsite and the Kingman green, similar green hues. And the closest I found to that is this Cascade green from Daniel Smith. Especially this Kingman green. It has a very interesting texture, especially when it's watered down. But the price would not justify me getting that unless maybe even if the granulation would be more pronounced and I could use it to mix some granulating colors. Fuchsite, a very light mint with pretty sparkles. I tried the Sennelier, they have an emerald green, but that was more yellow, so close to the Amazonite. If you are interested in sparkling color and pretty mint, yeah, that might be a tough one to get. Kyanite, beautiful texture, interesting hue, and of course the sparkles. I have the Mayan Blue Dark, which is very, very similar, especially in the matte stone and even in the lighter parts without the sparkle. Adding some Lunar Black might give you something close. Lapis Lazuli, very pale color, very interesting grade blue. I do not have anything like it. Maybe if I mix a very pale version of not Daniel Smith, Winsor & Newton, they have smalt with a touch of blue, but that's a color I don't really use that much. So anyways, Mayan Blue, very similar to this Indigo by Winsor & Newton, maybe a little yellower than that. And then if you want to stick to Mayan Blue, this is much bluer, but again a little yellow may turn that color around. Diopside and Jadeite Green, I believe any PG7 can give you something similar, or PG36. And for the green apatite, I have this sap green from Core mixed with the granulating brown. Might give me something similar to this hue. So sap green from Core and a granulating bark, especially if I like the Cyclorite, that might be the right thing right there. And the last one, I have olive green here, slightly yellow than the sap green. The Serpentine, probably mixed with the granulating yellow ochre, would give me very close to this hue. Probably this one would, the mix will be slightly yellower, but the bright green added would come with something similar to that. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a long video. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me trying to recreate some of these colors, and I'll see you in my next video.